Hey, fifth grade, have you guys ever read a text or a poem or a book and you come across words and you're like, I have no idea what this means. I don't know what to do? Today I'm going to give you a few strategies that you guys can use in order to decode some of those really difficult words. So let's get started. The first thing we need to do is identify the word, either circle, highlight, or underline words we don't know. On the screen is the poem that you guys had for homework. I'm going to go in and I'm going to underline or highlight words I'm just not familiar with. So any word that pops out to you that you're like, I don't think I know what this means, you're just going to highlight, circle, or underline. That's the first step. Once you have a few of these highlighted, you can move on to step 2. Next, we want to think about connotation for a word. Is the word positive? Does it make you feel good? Or is the word negative? Does it make you sad or upset? Or do you think that it could make someone sad or upset? How does that word make you think or feel? So I'm going to take a look at the first few words, straggling, despair, and eternal. And I'm going to figure out, are these positive words or negative words? How do I feel when I'm reading them? So a pale like silence fell upon the patrons of the game. A straggling few got up to go in deep despair. So if I'm thinking of the word straggling, I notice that I'm hearing a lot of consonant sounds like the G's and the T and the S, the straggling. And it reminds me of struggling. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a comment and I'm going to put just a simple negative sign. And I'm going to write negative. Right? It kind of makes me feel like there's something off. So I'm going to make a comment there. Now, if I take a look at deep despair, if something's deep, right, and then I'm thinking straggling is negative, then despair must also be kind of negative. So I'm going to put negative. And I'm thinking it has something to do with sadness, because it's whatever emotion it is, it has to be deep. So a deep emotion. And the only thing I can think of that gets really, really deep is sadness. The rest clung to the hope which springs eternal. So now I see the word eternal. Again, I'm just thinking, is this a positive or negative word? I'm going to look around the word eternal to help me figure it out. So I see this idea of clinging to hope, right? So I'm going to underline hope, which springs. So hope and springs, those give me a lot of energy. Those words seem really exciting. So if they're tied to the word eternal, then I'm going to assume that eternal is positive, that it's a happier word, right? So I'm going to think happier, then definitely despair, hopeful maybe. So that's step 2. Just figuring out if these words are negative sounding or positive sounding. Say you identify the word, say you try to come up with the connotation, but you're still lost. The next best step is to look the word up. So I'm going to show you how you guys can do that. All right. So now, if I'm still stuck and I cannot seem to figure out the connotation, I don't know if it's positive, I don't know if it's negative. This will be an example for one like patrons, where it really just sounds neutral. What you can do is look up the word, okay? So I'm going to use a word that we've already tried to find the connotation to. So let's use straggling. All right, I copied that word. What I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to Google, which is like our best friend. And I'm just going to paste that word into Google. If you do that, the first thing that pops up is a dictionary definition. All right. It'll tell you to move along slowly. All right. To move along slowly means to straggle. If you feel like the Google definition is not good enough, always go to Merriam-Webster. So look for this little MW. If you click here, this is one of the best dictionary sites you can use. The dictionary will always tell you the part of speech. So straggle is a verb, it's an action word, and it'll give you more than one definition. So to wander, away from the direct course to trail off from others of its kind, right? So this is a great website to use, Merriam-Webster. I'm going to go back to the Google definition though, because this is the one that I feel like a lot of students are going to end up using. And notice that you can listen to the sound of the word if you don't know how to pronounce it. So let's click that. Straggle. Straggle. To move along slowly. So when I go back to my poem and I said, oh, it may be negative, that's kind of close. And I'm going to put my definition, to move along slowly, and I'm going to put a verb there so I know it's an action word. So that means a few people, right, who move along slowly, they got up to go in deep despair. Okay, so if they're moving slowly, it has to be linked to sadness. Because if you were happy, you wouldn't be moving slowly. You wouldn't be in the back. You will be in the front. So now the words are starting to make sense for me as I'm going through this poem. Let's move on to the next strategy. And last but not least, you can use context clues to help you come up with the definition or to help you figure out what the word means. Sometimes it takes too much time to look up a definition and you mess up with the flow of your reading, right? Or you may just not have a dictionary near you. When that happens, use context clues. In this next video, you're going to see a professional use context clues. Please take notes.